Morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us today for our session titled Power Platform Beyond Apps An Enterprise Architecture Perspective. Power Platform is often seen as a low code tool for quick applications. But in enterprise environments, its real value goes far beyond apps. It plays a critical role in architecture decisions, governance models, integration strategies, and scalable digital transformation. Today's session will explore exactly that perspective. How Power Platform fits into the broader enterprise ecosystem, how it aligns with IT strategy, and how organizations can use it responsibly at scale. Before we begin, a quick note. This session will run for approximately 30 minutes. Please feel free to post your questions anytime in the chat. We'll address all the questions via email by consulting our subject matter experts. So, never too late. We're pleased to have Ramakrishnan with us today as our presenter. Welcome, Ram. Thank you so much for being here. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Revati. Thanks for the introduction. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Myself, Ram. I work as a Power Platform developer at Socop. Over the years, I have built applications for sales teams, automated finance approvals, designed HR onboarding workflows, and integrated enterprise systems using Power Platform. When I started, what impressed me most was speed. We could replace Excel trackers in days. We could automate approval chains in hours. We could build dashboards without waiting months for development cycles. I felt empowering. But as adoption increased, as more departments built apps, as data became centralized, something changed. The platform stopped being just a solution builder. It became infrastructure. It began handling revenue approvals, pricing rules, vendor onboarding, compliance workflows, and now AI copilots. Infrastructure requires intentional design. That's the shift we are discussing today. Today, we are not discussing features. We are discussing behavior at scale. We will explore what changes when we move from building faster to operating smarter. We will understand why Dataverse is more than storage. We'll discuss how applications coexist without architectural chaos. We will define automation boundaries. And we will see how security, governance, and AI all connect to architectural maturity. This session is about mindset because architecture is not about complexity, it's about predictability. In early phase of adoption, success feels very straightforward. We measure it by speed. A sales team asks for a lead tracker. We build it in a week. Finance wants multi-level approvals. We automated it in few hours. Operations need visibility. We connect Power BI and deliver dashboards quickly. Everyone sees value immediately, and that's powerful. But scale quietly changes the conversation. Let me explain what that looks like. Imagine a discount rule implemented inside a Canvas app. The policy says no sales rep can exceed 15% without escalation. The formula works perfectly inside the screen. Now someone updates the opportunity through Excel integration or through an API connected to ERP or the flow that validates it fails temporarily. Suddenly the rule isn't enforced consistently. Now, leadership is not asking, can we build this? They are asking, where is the rule guaranteed? Here is another situation. An approval flow routes purchase request. Everything works until one connected token expires. The flow pauses silently. Request remain in limbo. The issue is not automation. The issue is architectural control. Building faster delivers features. Operating smarter ensures predictability. And at scale, predictability matters more than speed. At the beginning, most organizations see Power Platform as a collection of tools. Power Apps build screens, Power Automate runs workflows, Power BI shows dashboards. Copilot adds intelligence. And that's perfectly fine at the start. But enterprise architecture does not think in tools, it thinks in systems. Let me explain this with a few real world situations. Imagine a sales manager logs into a Canvas app to review pipeline numbers. Authentication flows through Enter ID. Access is evaluated based on security rules. Data is retrieved from Dataverse. A Power BI dashboard uses the same dataset. Now ask yourself, is that just an app or is that a coordinated platform behavior? Here's another situation. A developer makes a schema change to the opportunity table. The change moves from development to test to production using solutions. Connection references adapt per environment. Environment variables update configuration automatically. That's not just in deployment, that's controlled system evolution. One more example. A regional sales director asks Copilot, show me customers with declining revenue in my region. Copilot respects role level security. It respects business unit boundaries. It respects column level restrictions. AI is operating inside the same architectural rules. That's not feature usage, that's platform coherence. When identity, security, data, automation, reporting, and AI all behave consistently across the system, Power Platform stops being a toolkit. It becomes enterprise infrastructure. And infrastructure must not intentionally designed, not accidentally assembled. This is when Power Platform becomes an enterprise capability. Dataverse is often introduced as database, but architecturally it behaves differently. Let me walk you through a few realistic situations. Imagine a global sales organization operating across India, Middle East, and Europe. Each region has its own leadership, pricing strategy, and compliance constraints. If access control is implemented only in the app, it works visually, right, in the interface, but not structurally. Then Power BI report might expose data. An export to Excel might reveal records. An integration might bypass filters. Now, contrast that with a properly designed business unit structure in Dataverse. Security roles inherit through hierarchy. Row level security applies consistently. Column level restrictions protect sensitive attributes like margin or commission. It doesn't appear or doesn't matter how the data is accessed. Canvas respects it. Model driven respects it. Power pages, flows, even Copilot respects it. That's not filtering, that's enforcement. Here's another subtle example. An invoice must always be linked to a valid customer. If someone deletes the parent record, what happens? Dataverse enforces referential integrity. Relationships are protected. Transactions are consistent. When policy lives at the data layer, behavior becomes uniform. And uniform behavior builds executive trust. One of the most common questions I hear is, should we use canvas or model driven? But that question assumes they compete. No, they don't. Think about how different users interact with systems. A field sales executive on the road needs speed. They need to update an opportunity in seconds, upload a photo, capture quick notes. Mobile first experience matters. That's where Canvas shines. Now think about a regional manager reviewing pipeline health. They need structured stages, approval visibility, forecast adjustments, role-based common command buttons, right? That's where model-driven brings strength. And now extend that further. An external distributor logs into a portal to register deals securely. They don't need internal UI complexity. They need controlled access and defined permissions. That's Power Pages, right? Different experiences, different interaction models, same governed data core. The opportunity table does not change. Security does not change. Approval logic does not change. Architecture is not about choosing one experience. It's about composing multiple experiences over a stable foundation. When user experience adapts without destabilizing the core, that's architectural maturity. Automation is powerful, right? But without clear boundaries, it creates hidden instability. Our Automate is excellent at orchestration. It routes approvals, it sends notifications, it coordinates tasks across systems. But orchestration is not a enforcement. That the distinction matters. Let me explain with a few real world situations. Imagine your organization has a pricing policy. No deal above 20% discount should be approved without CFO visibility. You build a Power Automate flow to send an approval email when the discount exceeds the threshold. That works as long as the flow runs, as long as the connection is valid, as long as the integration updates the record directly. But what happens if someone updates the opportunity through ERP sync or modifies the record via API? If enforcement only lives in the flow, the policies or policy can be bypassed. Now contrast that with an validate rule or plugin inside database. The system rejects the transaction before it saves. The rule cannot be ignored. That is enforcement at the core. Here's another scenario. A vendor onboarding process requires tax ID validation before activation. If that validation lives only inside a workflow setup or step, the vendor record may already exist in an incomplete state. But if validation lives inside the data layer, no invalid vendor can be ever be activated. That protects compliance. And when integrating with systems like SAP or Dynamics or Azure services, right, may handle heavy data synchronization. Power Automate handles business coordination. Dataverse enforces transactional rules. Each layer has a responsibility. When those responsibilities are mixed, behavior becomes unpredictable. When they are separated intentionally, the platform becomes reliable. Right? Automation coordinates, Dataverse governs, integration scales. And architecture defines the boundary between them. Security in Power Platform is not something we configure at the end. It is something we architect at the beginning. Authentication flows through Enter ID, that's clear. But authorization, that's where architecture lives. Business units define organizational structure. Security roles define responsibility. Teams allow scalable access. Column level security protects sensitive attributes like margin, salary, or credit limit. Now let me make it this real. Imagine your organization operates across three regions: India, Middle East, and Europe. Each region has its own sales leadership. Each region has confidential pricing strategies. If access control is implemented only at the app level, you are relying on presentation logic. But if access is implemented through business unit and role inheritance in Dataverse, then the restriction applies everywhere, no matter how the data is accessed through model-driven apps, Canvas app, Power BI, Excel export, API integrations, even through Copilot, right? That is our structural enforcement. Now consider another scenario. You acquire a new company. For 6 months, their financial data must remain isolated due to compliance review. If your business unit model was designed properly from the start, isolation takes minutes. If not, you are restructuring production ownership models under live data pressure. That's expensive. Security mistakes at 20 users are minor. Security mistakes at 5,000 users are strategic failures. Security is not configuration. Security is platform design. Governance often sounds restrictive, but real governance is invisible and policy driven. Let's take a practical scenario. Sales representative builds Power Automate flow that connects Dataverse, Gmail, and personal Google Sheet. Right? Customer pricing data leaves the organization. If there is a data in Dataverse being connected using a Gmail, right? And it stores the data in personal Google Sheet. Without DLP policies, this is completely possible. But With properly designed DLP policies, business connectors cannot talk to non-business connectors. No email warning required. No policy, no manual policing. Just structural prevention through DLP policies. That's governance through mechanism. Now think about environments, right? Development environment should encourage experimentation. Test environment validates integration and performance. Production environment must restrict direct customization. If a maker can directly edit production components, instability is inevitable. Managed solutions protect protection. They ensure that components deployed are controlled and versioned. The center of excellence provides visibility, like which apps are unused, which flows are failing, where are orphaned resources, where is data flowing externally, right? Governance is not about slowing innovation, it's about enabling innovation safely. The best governance feels invisible to makers, but always protects the organization. ALM. ALM is where architecture becomes operational discipline. Let's imagine a scenario. A developer modifies the opportunity table directly in production, adds a mandatory column. Suddenly, mobile app fails, approval flow fails, sales representatives cannot submit deals, revenue stops. Now, leadership asks, who approved this change? Can we roll back immediately? Without structured ALM, rollback is complex and manual. With structured ALM, changes move through development, test, production. Solutions package tables, columns, relationships, apps, flows, right? Everything. Environment variables ensure configuration like API URLs don't hardcode values. Connection references prevent broken connectors during deployment. Power Platform pipelines or Azure DevOps introduce approval gates, automated validation, solution checker analysis, version history, rollback strategy. ALM is not a developer convenience, it is a risk management. Organizations that treat deployment casually experience instability. Organizations that treat deployment as a discipline gain executive confidence. Now let's talk about AI. Copilot and AI Builder are powerful. They can summarize records, generate insights, prediction, automate document understanding. But AI does not exist outside our architecture. It inherits everything. It inherits identity. It inherits security roles, role level security, column level restrictions, DLP policies. It inherits environment boundaries. Now imagine a sales manager asks Copilot, show me high value customers with declining revenue in my region. If row level security is wrong, Copilot may surface customers from another region. If margin percentage is not protected, A might summarize confidential profitability insights. A doesn't create risk, it reveals existing architectural weaknesses faster. Now consider data quality. If your opportunity table has duplicates, inconsistent stage values, or incomplete relationships, AI predictions become unreliable. AI readiness does not begin with prompt engineering. It begins with data modeling maturity. It begins with governance maturity. AI amplifies whatever foundation exists. Strong architecture, accelerated intelligence. Weak architecture, accelerated exposure. As we wrap up, I want to step back for a moment. Everything we discussed today security, governance, ALM, automation boundaries, AI all of it connects to one central idea. Power Platform becomes enterprise ready not because we adapt it widely, but because we design it intentionally. There is a difference between building solutions and designing a platform. Solutions solve immediate problems, platforms shape long term behavior. When we design the platform intentionally, we anchor enforcement in dataverse, so rules cannot be bypassed. We separate orchestration from transactional logic, so data remains consistent. We automate governance through policy, So growth does not create chaos. We treat deployment as an operating model decision. So change is controlled and reversible. And we recognize that AI inherits architecture. So intelligence scales safely. At small scale, Power Platform delivers productivity. At enterprise scale, it becomes digital operating layer. It governs revenue approvals. It protects sensitive data. It integrates core systems. It shapes how AI behaves. That is responsibility. And when we think at that level, our role shifts. We are not just Power Platform developers. We become custodians of digital trust. Because ultimately, architecture is not about technology, it's about predictability, it's about risk control, it's about enabling innovation without exposure. When leadership trusts the platform, innovation accelerates. When the foundation is stable, experiences can evolve. When governance is automated, scale becomes sustainable. So the real shift is not technical, it is the mindset. From building apps to operating governed platform, from delivering features to shaping enterprise systems. And that shift is what defines architectural maturity. I appreciate your time and attention today. I hope this perspective helps you look at the platform differently. Because the way we design today defines how we scale tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Ram. That was crisp, clear, and wonderful session. So, guys, I hope you got a clear session about how the Power Platform shifts its way into a different path, a different perspective. Thank you, everyone who took your time to attend and engage with us today. A special thanks to Ram for a wonderful session. For more information or queries, please write to info@hexacorp.com and visit our website www.hexacorp.com. See you at the next webinar. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.